girls and boys. Welcome to another episode of your daily show, Fairy Tales. You know, a fairy always brings us a tale, and a tale is never lost on us. So, how about you join me on a new story and a new tale that's been brought to us by a fairy? Our story today is called The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Once there was a young boy who was appointed to a powerful sorcerer. The apprentice wanted to learn all the magic that he could so that one day he too can be as powerful as the sorcerer. The apprentice worked hard for the sorcerer for 1 year, but during all that time, the sorcerer didn't teach the apprentice a single spell. The apprentice spent his days washing the floors of the sorcerer's drafty castle and cleaning the glass containers that the sorcerers used to mix potions in. Sometimes the leftover potions would mix together with a poop or make an especially bad smell, or even form a laughing face from the smoke that soon drifted apart. But this was the nearest the apprentice ever came to magic. "Master, when will I learn to do magic like you?" the apprentice asked. One day, "Maybe I could conjure up a little fireball, or learn to fly, maybe just a little way off the ground." "Magic is about hard work and study, not flights and explosions," the sorcerer replied, locking his spellbook safely in the cabinet. "You're here to learn real magic, not stage tricks. Now, get back to work." The sorcerer was a very grave and stern man, and the apprentice was a little afraid of him. So the apprentice carried on with his cleaning, but he still longed to cast some real spells of his own. One day, the sorcerer told the apprentice that he would have to go away for a few days. And while he was gone, he wanted the great hall cleaned. The apprentice looked around the great hall in dismay. The floor was encrusted with grime. There were dirty cauldrons and dusty glass beakers piled up everywhere. Even the stuffed animals' heads on the walls were covered in cobwebs. It was going to take a long time to clean. The sorcerer departed, and the apprentice found a mop and filled a pail of water from the well outside. He began to scrub one corner of the floor, rubbing all the dirt off and making it shine. After an hour or two, he stood up and stretched his aching back. He had only cleaned a tiny part of the floor. The rest was as dirty as ever. The apprentice left his mop and wandered around the workshop. He was surprised to see that his master's cabinet was unlocked. Peering inside, he saw the sorcerer's spell book. He was not allowed to touch it, but let's see. How about the little pig? It was the source of all the sorcerer's powers. Small look can't hurt, thought the apprentice. So what did he do? We would know after the break. You see, girls and boys, the apprentice wasn't allowed to touch the spell book or even look inside it because it was the source of the sorcerer's power. A small look can't hurt, thought the apprentice. He took the spellbook from the cabinet and opened it. It fell open on a page with a spell that made household objects move around. Thought the apprentice. I wonder if the mop could do the sweeping for me. Well, the apprentice recited the words on the page loudly, pointing at the mop at first. Nothing happened. Then the mop shook and picked itself up from the floor. It began scrubbing the floor all by itself. It even slid back to the pail of water and dipped itself in before returning to its task. Fantastic! Cried the apprentice. Out loud, he pulled up a chair and watched as the mop scrubbed away at the floor. Soon, all the water was gone from the pail, but the mop kept scrubbing away. The apprentice thumbed through the spellbook and found a spell that made water appear. He cast it on the bucket and instantly it was full to the brim with water and suds. It wasn't long before the mop had cleaned the whole floor to a sparkling shine, but the mop didn't stop. It went back to the first corner and started cleaning all over again. The apprentice looked in the spellbook, but there were no instructions on stopping the spell. The mop began to clean faster and faster. It started to sweep at the objects on the long table, knocking over all kinds of magical equipments. Hey, stop that! Cried the apprentice. He chased the mop around the hall until he finally grabbed it with both hands. He chased the mop here and there, but he couldn't. He snapped the mop in two. That's the end of that, he said. However, it wasn't. The two halves of the mop began to grow and sprout until they were two full-size mops instead of one. Both mops rushed around the hall, sweeping and smelling. Then the apprentice noticed that his feet were wet. The spell on the bucket was making water pour out of it. It was filling up the room. The apprentice grabbed a hammer and chased the two mops, smashing them to pieces. But all the splinters from the mops grew and grew until they were 100 mops flying the air. The water grew so high, the apprentice had to swim. He tried to fight off the mops, but they were everywhere, slushing, sweeping, and destroying everything in the hall. If only my master was here, cried the apprentice in fright. Suddenly, there was a crack of thunder and a blast of light as the sorcerer appeared. With a wave of his arms, he made the water disappear, and with a click of his fingers, the mops fell to the floor and turned back into a single lifeless mop. Please don't turn me into a toad, begged the apprentice, who was still soaking wet. I left the cabinet open to see if you could be trusted, the sorcerer said. I knew you would be meddling with magic as soon as you opened my spellbook, but I didn't return until you had seen what wild magic can do. I'm so sorry, master, said the apprentice. I will never dabble in magic without your permission again. The sorcerer made the apprentice clean up the mess with his own hands. With that was all the punishment the apprentice got. After many years of hard work, the apprentice became a mighty sorcerer, but he never forgot the lesson that his master has taught him that day. Never play with things you're not allowed. How about we have a short break, girls and boys, and get back to our story.
Page 64. A feather is one of the light, thin growths that cover a bird's body. Birds can have two main kinds of feather, contour and down. The parts of a feather vary depending on its type. Contour feathers grow on birds' body only in special areas called tarlia. From the tarlia, the relatively large contour feathers fan out to cover the bird almost completely. Downed feathers, however, are found on all parts of birds' body. People have used feather for a variety of purposes. For hundreds of years, American Indians used feathers to make arrows and head dresses. Until the mid-19th century, when pins with steel nibs became popular. When pins with steel nibs became popular, most people wrote with quill pens. Today, manufacturers use feathers as stuffing in pillows and upholstery.
That was it for today's story, girls and boys. How about you join me same time next time on a new story and a new tale on fairy tales.